Alright guys, welcome back again to some more Umineko. So where we last left off, we were already on a voyage to the secluded islands, I believe, and it's pretty rocky from the way it was shown, if anything. And now we're going to continue on from there and see what happens after. So if anything else guys, thank you all for watching, thank you for all the love, and let's keep it going.
マリアちゃん、何も怖くないよ。だって、僕たちが一緒だもの。
Alright guys, and we are back.
一緒だと何も怖くないんだよ。言ってごらん。
一緒だと何も怖くない。
うん。一緒だと何も怖くない。
そうさ。ジョージの兄貴の言う通りだぜ。俺たちが一緒にいると、いつだってなんだって絶対に怖くねえんだ。な、ジェシカ。
ああ、間違いないぜ。ジョージ兄さんの言うことはいつも本当だよ、マリア。
ジョージお兄ちゃんはいつも本
当。うん。僕は嘘をつかないよ。だから信じて。
I don't know, man. I feel like that's a facade. That smile, man. I'm very suspicious of it. It's too happy.
みんなと一緒にいれば何も怖くないんだよ。
I hope I'm proven wrong, though. We'll find out.
ジョージお兄ちゃんは嘘をつかない。信じる。みんなと一緒にいれば怖くない。怖くない。
Maria jumped into George Aniki's arms and hugged him tightly. After Aniki patted her head, she jumped away again. Her facial expressions had returned so completely to normal that she looked like a totally different person from moments before. She was once again the ordinary Maria.
みんなと一緒だからもう怖くない。
ああ、そうだぜ。もう平気みたいだな。マリアは強いな。偉い。
マリア偉い。
なんや、どうしたんや。マリアちゃん、船酔いだったんか？
まあ、そんなとこです。もうじき着きますね。
The harbor was already drawing near. Trophy. Arrival at Rokenjima. The boat gave a big shudder. Seems we've docked at the harbor. The boat driver came out and jumped to the pier with the mooring rope. A large man in a tuxedo was waiting there for us with a warm, smiling face. I didn't know him, but judging by his clothes, I guessed that he was a servant of the Ushiromiya head house.
お嬢様、お帰りなさいませ。
Goda Toshiro. Welcome home, my lady.
だいぶ遅かったので心配しておりました。
心配ありがとう。バトラのやつが怖がっちゃってよ。それで徐行運転だったってわけ。マジでうぜえぜ。
うるせえ。いつか逆の立場になったら覚えてろ。
At this rate, the word will spread around the entire family and I'll become the big conversation piece during dinner. Even without this, everyone would be talking about me because of that 6-year gap, but now I provide them with an even juicier topic. Damn it, why does the Ushiromiya main family have to live on this isolated island? In the meantime, the boat had finished its mooring. A small plank was lowered so that we could get down. One by one, our parents came out of the boat.
皆様、長旅お疲れ様でした。奥様、お手をどうぞ。
ありがとう。お久しぶりね。ゴーダさんもお元気？
ありがとうございます。おかげさまで、毎日元気にお勤めをさせていただいております。
バトラ君はゴーダさんとは初対面じゃない？確か6年前はお勤めじゃなかったですよね。
はい。ですので、 バトラ様とは初めてご挨拶させていただきます。はじめまして、バトラ様。
俺もタッパには多少の自信があったんだが、でっけえ人だな。紛れもなく初対面だぜ。こんな大男、会ったら絶対忘れないさ。どうも、はじめまして、バトラっす。
お待ち申し上げておりました。一昨年から、後宮本家にお仕えさせていただいております、使用人のゴーダと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。何かご用命がございましたらいつでもお申し付けください。
ゴーダさん、お久しぶりです。
ジョージ様、ご無沙汰をいたしております。お手をどうぞ。
あんた、相変わらず大した接客のプロや。もし食に困ったらいつでもわしに声をかけるんやで。いつでも雇ったろ。
これは身に余る光栄です。どうぞお手を、秀吉様。
Goda-san then lent a hand to everyone as they disembarked, greeting them as they passed. His speech and mannerisms had the refined polish of a professional. He was very graceful in contrast with his initially rough-looking appearance. His large size made him a bit scary at first, but he was much more polite than my first impression of him had led me to believe. He claimed to have served on the island for 2 years, but he had doubtless worked at a similar job somewhere before. After everybody disembarked, the mooring rope was untied and the boat started to steer away from the harbor. It was probably returning to its home port in Nijima. The captain waved his hand in farewell. Maria conscientiously waved back.
なんだかさっきから違和感があると思ったら、あれだな。海猫の声を聞いてないぜ。
Oh, you said the title.
海猫？鳥のか？
I remember that whenever we came to this island, the seagulls always welcomed us with their lively nya-nya cries. And because of that, whenever I hear the cries of the seagulls in any other place, I get the feeling that I've come to a family conference. Except for the small part of the island where those of the Ushiromiya head's house lived, where Kenjima had been left uncultivated apparently, transforming into a paradise for wild birds. Seemingly, some cliff face or other had become a home to a huge seagull colony, and so this island was always full of them. Since those seagulls didn't come to greet us, I felt a bit lonely.
どうしたのバトラ君。
ああ、ローザおばさん。いやー、別に。海猫の声が聞こえないんで、なんか寂しいなーって。
あら、そういえばそうね。いっつも賑やかなのに、今日はさっぱりいないわね。
どうして海猫いない？
海猫たちも今日はよそで集まりがあるからかな。マリアも海猫見たかったの？
見たかった。
なんだってこうもまるっきりいねえんだ。
Must be an ominous sign of what's going on in this island.
ジェシカがみんな焼き鳥にして食っちまったんかな。
物騒なこと言うんじゃねえ！マリアが勘違いするだろ？
ジェシカお姉ちゃんが焼き鳥にした！
してないしてない！そんなの私がするわけねえだろ？
そうだそうだ！ジェシカが焼き鳥にしたんだ！皮につくねにレバーにネギマン！
皮にくつねり、レバーにネギマン！
There's gonna come a point during the game that laugh of hers or that little giggle is never gonna leave my head. As I made fun of Jessica, Maria tagged along looking like she was having fun. Ooh, she really knows how to join in with things. Alright then, starting today, I'll make you my #1 follower. As I smiled at her, she beamed back, overjoyed. I guess happy for this little bit of solidarity.
違うよ、マリアちゃん。野鳥って、天気や気圧の変化に敏感なんだそうだよ。今夜あたり、天気が崩れそうだしね。杖、早めに引き上げてるのかもしれないね。
焼き鳥じゃない？ジェシカお姉ちゃんが焼き鳥にしたんじゃない？
She almost sounds disappointed that didn't happen.
違う私はそんなことしないって。ほら、バトラも嘘だったって認めろよ。
バトラ君、マリアちゃんは素直な子だから、そういう冗談でも真に受けちゃうんだよ。冗談も少し選んだ方がいいよ。
George Aniki gently scolded me. Even though I outstripped Aniki in height, he still commanded respect as my elder. No choice but to obediently apologize.
おう、悪い悪い。マリア、今のは冗談だ。海猫たちは今日は素でおとなしくしてるってさ。
バトラは嘘？ジョージお兄ちゃんは本当？
I was having fun, but you were actually just tricking me. Her pure eyes seemed to accuse me. Maybe I went a little overboard with her after all.
ああ、そうだ。ジョージ兄貴が言ったのが本当だ。天気が悪いんで、今日は引き上げたんだろうよ。いなくなったわけじゃないんだぜ。ね、おばさん。
そうよ。明日以降、天気が良くなったら、きっと戻ってきて、みゃーみゃーと声を聞かせてくれるわ。
天気良くなって戻ってくるの待つ。明日まで待つ。天気良くなるまで待つ。
Maria's mood lightened and she started looking forward to tomorrow, when the seagulls would come back and fill the skies. Still, George Aniki really is amazing at taking care of kids. I think I remember Aniki taking good care of me as well when I was a brat 6 years ago. Aniki might have quite some talent for this kind of thing.
ジョージ君は小さい子の面倒を見るのがうまいわね。保育士さんでも務められるんじゃない？
なあ、ジョージ兄さんの転職っぽいぜ。私的には社長室でビジネスってより、そっちの方が兄さんのイメージだぜ。
まさか、保育士さんは立派なお仕事だよ。単なる子供好き程度に務まる仕事じゃないね。
本当にジョージ君は謙虚ね。でも、バトラ君も子供のあやし方が上手よ。
You know, George reminds me of a character from, what was that anime horror game again? It eludes me right now. But, when I remember it, I'll bring it up again.
さっきはほんの少しの間だけど、マリアとっても楽しそうだった。これからも今みたいに遊んであげてね。冗談は選んで、だけどね。
Auntie Rosa winked at me, giggling a little. A real mother, I thought to myself, who's happy that Maria looks like she's having fun.
おーい、ローザ。それにガキどもも、何やってんだ。行くぞ。
はいはい、今行きます。
The old bastard was beckoning us to hurry up. We better get moving. It's not like it'd be too late to have the same discussion after we got our luggage in our rooms.
それでは皆様、お泊まりのゲストハウスの方へご案内させていただきます。どうぞこちらへ。
Goda called to everyone and started leading us. Kumasawa-san brought up the rear. A serpentine twisting path led through a dim forest. It ran a bit uphill. I guess the path was made twisting so that the slope wouldn't be felt too much. But personally, I'd have been happier if they'd been man enough to make some stairs in a straight line. Know that they made the path twist. Yep, okay. To put on airs of distant importance. Before long, we saw garden-style stone steps. Ah, now I remember how it goes from here. Go up these and... At the top of the stone steps, a beautiful guest house came into view. Alright guys, I remember the game now. George reminds me of Morishige from Corpse Party. That's the game. That's the character. They both look similar, and they have like, they're characters you don't expect to have like a type of inner problems, for lack of a better word. And I feel like George has one of those too. He's keeping it well hidden. Again, I'm hoping I'm proving wrong, but you never know. Its facade was lovely, of course, but even more than that, we couldn't help but have our hearts stolen away by the splendor of that beautiful rose garden that spread before it.
はあ、今年も相変わらず大したもんや。目の保養とはこのことやで。
As they reached the top of the stone steps, the people welcomed in by the rose garden voiced their appreciation one after another.
今年は少し花に元気がないんじゃない？やっぱり夏があまり暑くなかったせいかしら。
そのせいもあるかと思います。去年の先に比べると、今年は少々見劣るのが残念です。
Even so, it was a delightful rose garden. I remember that huge amounts of roses used to greet me every year, even over 6 years ago. This rose garden was the first thing that greeted the people who came to Rokunjima. Even our parents, who came every year, couldn't help but let their wonders slip out. And moreover, it even looked like a powered-up version of the garden from 6 years ago that was in my memories.
いつ見てもすごいわね。自宅にこれだけのバラ園があったら、さぞや素敵でしょうに。
よせよ。誰が手入れすんだよ。バラは虫とか病気とか大変なんだぜ。
そうね。キリエ姉さんは毎日バラの手入れをしてて、虫がつかないようにしてるそうよ。
え？そうなのかよ。そんな話は知らないぜ。
そうなんです。この人の場合は、バラの方から虫を求めていっちゃうから、どっちかというとタチの悪い食虫植物ってところね。
ああ、そういう話かよ。たく。ローザ、今日はそういう話は勘弁してくれよ。もうそういうのはすっかり足を洗ったんだぜ。
どうかしら。ルドルフ兄さんは遺伝子的レベルでだらしないですし。
大丈夫よ、ローザさん。あんまりおいたするバラなら、根元からちょんって切っちゃうから。
物騒なお話ですね。
モテる男はいつもリスクと隣り合わせなんや。わしも来世じゃもうちょい美形に生まれたいもんやで。
だから秀吉兄さん、モテてなんかないって。キリエも物騒な話なんかやめろい。俺のバラがしおれちまったじゃねえか。
You're making my rose wither.
ほら、マリアちゃん、来てごらん。こっちのバラは特に立派だよ。
バラが立派。
See, now I can't imagine her ending her sentences without ooh.
かぐわしい匂いだぜ。俺のエレガントさにぴったりだな。
おい、よせよ。マリアが真似してトゲで怪我するだろ。
She yelled at me as I leaned in with an exaggerated gesture to smell the rose's scent. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitating my every movement, and thereby putting a broad smile on George Anaki's face.
ほら、マリアちゃん、気をつけて。バラのトゲは痛いよ。
ジョージお兄ちゃん、このバラだけ変。
変？どうしたんだよ。
Maria pointed to a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, just one single rose was withering. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish and others wither. That's all there was to it, but Maria seemed very concerned about there being only one unhealthy rose in a group of healthy ones. She must be feeling somehow like it's been left out.
このバラだけ元気がなくて、かわいそう？
Man, is that like a sign of things to come or what?
他はみんな元気なのに、これだけかわいそう。
まあ、咲いたり枯れたりはそれぞれだからな。一足先にしおれる代わりに、そのバラは他のどのバラよりも早く開花できたんだと思うぜ。
そうだよな。いっぱい咲いて、 その役目を終えてお休みに入ったってだけのことだと思うぜ。そんなに気に病むことはねえさ。
It seemed that Maria's pure sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for the rose that withered alone. Even though she understood the logic of it, it still felt lonely to her.
じゃあマリアちゃん、帰るまでの間、このバラをお世話してあげるといいよ。
George Aniki straightened up and felt around in his pocket. He then took out the wrapping from a candy he had eaten on the plane. He twisted it into a thin string and gently tied it to a rose as a sort of a marker.
へえ、なんだか可愛くなったね。
これが、このバラの目印だよ。後で、お水とかをあげに来てごらん。バラさんも、きっと喜ぶと思うよ。
お水とかをあげに来る。
せっかくだから、このバラさんに何か名前をつけてあげるといいよ。そうすると、バラさんも喜ぶと思うし。マリア。
名前。
Though she still wore her usual solemn face, Maria crossed her arms and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Aniki.
ジョージ兄さんって昔っから包容力があるよな。尊敬するぜ。
だな、人徳ってやつだろ。後で爪の赤をもらってきてやるから、一緒に飲もうぜ。
I'm even more convinced now that somehow he's gonna be pulled to the dark side or something.
この庭園は、お前が子供の頃にもこんなに立派だったんか？
私が出てってからよ、こんなに立派になったのは。前の庭園の方が素朴で愛着があったんだけどね。兄さんがちょっと悪趣味にいじりすぎたのよ。前の方がずっと良かったんだから。
エヴァ、ポジティブシンキングやで。昔は置いといて、今のこの美しさをめでなあかん。その方が心が安らかになるで。
別にそんな意味じゃん。ただ私は昔の方が素敵だった庭園をあなたにも見てほしかったなってだけよ。
それでは皆様よろしいでしょうか。そろそろお部屋の方にご案内いたします。
Goda-san called to everyone to ask if we were ready. But our hearts had been completely stolen away by the Rose Garden after a year of absence, and we didn't lend them an ear. Since we weren't a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Besides, for our parents, this was their fond old birth home they had returned to, so they felt no obligation to be pressured by anyone. Understanding the situation, Goda-san continued to wait with a wide smile for our parents to lose interest in the roses and tell him to guide us to the rooms.
おや？おーい！
It sounded like he was about to speak English for a second.
カノン君やないか！久しぶりやな！元気か？
Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving, there was a slender boy. Meeting him right after a huge man like Goda probably emphasized his small stature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled up gardening tools and the like in a wheelbarrow. When he realized he was being called to a stop, he set down the wheelbarrow, took his hat off, and bowed his head.
Konnichiwa.
I figured he was probably younger than me. I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was a servant too. Though he did greet Uncle Hideyoshi back, he himself seemed like he might be unsociable. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda-san noticed that our interest had shifted towards him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us.
バトラ様、ご紹介いたします。後宮本家にお仕えしております使用人の一人です。カノンさん、お客様にご挨拶を。
はじめまして。使用人のカノンです。
Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He gave the feeling that he was unsociable, or maybe a bit of a poor speaker. In contrast with Goda-san, who was extraordinarily polished as a servant. It was impossible not to feel the immaturity you'd expect of someone his age. When Goda-san urged him in a whisper to give a bit more of an introduction, the boy named Kanon only cast his eyes downward.
カノンさん、もう少し何か挨拶することはできませんか？
いえ、僕たちは家具ですから。
It seemed that he wasn't refusing to greet us out of spite, but rather, he gave the impression that he didn't know what else to add to his greeting, and so could do nothing other than stay silent.
カノン君は寡黙でさ、 余計なおしゃべりはしない性分なんだよ。愛想は少し悪いけど、根はいい人なんだぜ。誤解しないで。ここに勤めて3年になるんだっけ。確か、ゴーダさんより1年長いんだよな、カノン君。
Even though it's not like he made a super bad impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. I see. Apparently him being unsociable works against him all the time.
そっか。よろしくな。俺はバトラ。18だけど、君はいくつだい？
A silence, as if evaluating whether it was a question that must be answered or not. But here again, Jessica plowed ahead.
確か、私たちの2つ下だから、16だったよな。
はい。そうです。
It looked like if given a choice, he would have preferred not to tell us his age. Him not wanting to tell his age was probably because he thought he would be looked down upon for it. Sorry, guys. I remember that when I was around his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. I see. 16, huh? It's gotta be a delicate time. In that case, I asked something I shouldn't have.
近いとして嬉しいぜ。気さくにバトラって呼んでくれよな。俺も君のことはカノンって呼ぶぜ。
ありがとうございます。お気持ちだけで結構です。バトラ様。
Jessica looked flustered for some reason. She seemed to think that my impression of Kanon was worsening because of his rejection. Well, I doubt a girl like Jessica understands his fretful male heart. As his elder, even by just 2 years, who would lead him into adolescence, I took it upon myself to understand that.
カノンさん、もう少し愛想よくはできませんか？笑顔も使用人の義務ですよ。
申し訳ありません。努力します。
ゴーダさん、カノン君もいろいろ頑張ってるんですよ。
It seemed as though he was often warned about his discourtesy, and apparently he had improved a bit. Goda-san kept his business smile but let a small sigh of resignation escape.
それではまだ仕事がありますので、失礼します。
It looked like Kanon himself was uncomfortable with remaining silent here any longer. After another perfunctory bow, he turned on his heels and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, suddenly the wheelbarrow wobbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess the wheelbarrow with its single wheel caught on a pebble and lost its balance.
何をしてるんですか？早く片付けて。
Goda-san urged him along in a low voice as if to remind him that it is a servant's shame to present a clumsy appearance in front of guests. Showing that he understood quite well without being told, Kanon-kun wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools, shovels, and such, but he looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer.
大丈夫かよ。そそっかしいな。ほら。
お嬢様、お召し物が汚れます。ここはお任せください。
With an elegant gesture, Goda-san took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. At his back was the figure of Kanon-kun having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer.
お召し物が汚れる？
安心しろよ。俺が着てるのはそんなお上品なものじゃねえぜ。それによ。俺はレストランで落ちたフォークをウェイトレスに拾わせるってやつが大嫌いなんだ。
I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course they weren't light, but for me it was a piece of cake. Kanon-kun turned his surprised eyes towards me. It was the face of one who would never expected to receive help from a guest.
バトラ様、結構です。僕が全てやりますので。
気にすんな。こう見えても鍛え方が違うぜ。
Kanon-kun looked like he hadn't yet gone through his growth spurt and was stuck with a sort of weak body. I guess this kind of weight is a bit much for him.
結構重いね。カノン君が苦労するのも無理はないよ。カノン君、気にしないで。
これぞ、俺の見せ場さ。これで、さっきの船の分はチャラだよな。
この程度のことじゃ、さっきの大騒ぎが帳消しになるもんかよ。カノン君にも後で教えてやるよ。バトラったら面白いんだぜ。
落ちる。
Banter made the job seem quick, and before I knew it, all the stuff had been piled back into the wheelbarrow.
お見苦しいところをお見せして、申し訳ございませんでした。
もう結構ですよ。言ってください。
Letting such a disgraceful thing be seen by the guests who were supposed to be made welcome must have been hideously embarrassing as a servant. Pressed by Goda to hurry up and exit, Kanon-kun left.
ゴーダさんもいじめすぎよ。意地悪言わないで、あなたも手伝えばよかったんじゃない？
これは至りませんで、誠に申し訳ございませんでした。
Without even a twitch in his smile, Goda-san apologized elegantly.
カノン君もええところはぎょうさんあるんやで。ただ、若いんかの。もったいないわ。
気難しい年頃さ。そっとしといてやれよ。使用人は寡黙なくらいがちょうどいいさ。な、熊沢さん。
ルドルフ様は手厳しゅうございますこと。
Alright guys, thank you all for watching, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. And with that, we'll continue on in the next one. So thank you all for watching.